Hey everyone, if you've ever felt like you could use a little boost when it comes to everyday English conversations, you're in the right place.
Absolutely.
We're diving into English dialogues for everyday scenarios today.
It's a great resource, yeah.
We thought it'd be really useful to break down some of the practical phrases and scenarios and really see how you can make them work for you.
For sure.
So we've got excerpts ready to go and our expert here to help us really get the most out of this deep dive.
Yeah, let's do it.
It looks like Emily, our guide in this material, starts right at the beginning
Okay.
with greetings and small talk.
Smart. It's just the foundation of everything, really.
Sometimes it's easy to think of small talk as just like filler.
Right.
But there's actually a lot more going on there.
Absolutely. It's like a social dance almost,
Yeah.
You're signaling that you're open to connecting. And it's really interesting how these simple phrases like, hi, how are you, actually work across so many different cultures. It taps into this very human need to build that rapport, that connection.
That's so true. And Emily gives a really classic example in the material. Hi, how are you? Hi.
Yeah.
I'm good, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing well. Beautiful day, isn't it? Yes, it's lovely.
Yeah, classic.
But what really stood out to me was her emphasis on breaking the ice. It's not just about, being polite.
Right.
It's about creating that opening, that invitation for further connection.
And you know what I noticed about that example?
Yeah.
Each response kind of offers a little bit more than just a simple yes or no. It's like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs, inviting the other person to kind of keep going.
Yeah. It's not a closed door. It's like, hey, if you want to chat, I'm open.
So I'm curious, beyond these kind of basic phrases, is there anything we can do to make small talk even more, effective?
Oh, for sure. I mean, while those basics are great, like a really solid starting point, you can always try to tailor them a little bit more to the specific situation that you're in. Like, imagine you're at the coffee shop, right? And there's like this crazy long line.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just the standard, hi, how are you? You could say something like, wow, this line is really something, huh?
Oh, I like that.
Right. You instantly create that shared experience.
Yeah.
Like a little connection point.
Instead of just like tossing a ball back and forth, you're actually like, tossing and catching a ball that's in the same room.
Exactly. And that's how small talk goes from just pleasantries to being the springboard for something a little bit deeper.
That's great. But you know what? As important as greetings are, I think we all have those moments where we feel like we need a translator just to order a meal.
Oh, totally. I've been there.
Restaurants, they can be like my English Achilles heel sometimes.
Yeah.
I get so flustered.
I get it.
Even just trying to pronounce some of the dishes, let alone like navigating the whole ordering process smoothly.
But don't worry. Emily, she's got us covered. She's got some clear phrases in here. She suggests something like, hello, I'd like to order, please. Sure. What would you like? I'll have the grilled chicken sandwich and a lemonade. Anything else? No, thank you. That's all.
Okay.
Just like that.
Yeah. That does help. Just hearing those phrases out loud makes it feel so much less, overwhelming.
For sure.
But what about those times when the menu is in another language? Or if I've got dietary restrictions?
Yeah, that's tricky.
How do you adapt?
Okay, well, if the menu's in another language, you could always just point, right? And say, I'll have this, please.
Yeah, that's fair.
And if you have dietary restrictions, you could add something like, can I get that without the allergen?
Okay.
Or do you have any gluten-free options?
That makes sense. So it's about combining those basic phrases with the specifics that you need.
Right, exactly.
It's not just memorizing lines. It's understanding how to adapt them.
You got it. And remember, a smile and a polite tone can go a long way, even if you're not 100% fluent.
Okay, now I'm feeling more confident about tackling that menu.
Good.
But once we've got the food situation sorted, we can't forget about another essential skill.
What's that?
Shopping.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to admit, even in English, I sometimes find myself like fumbling for the right phrases.
It can be a bit overwhelming,
Right. It feels so fast-paced.
Yes.
Like, gotta get in, get what you need, get out.
But the good thing is that the key phrases for shopping, they're all about being direct.
Makes sense. Efficient.
Exactly. Efficient. Emily's example is spot on. Excuse me, how much is this sweater? It's $30. Do you have it in size medium? Yes. Let me check. Thank you. I'll take it.
Perfect.
To the point.
Yeah. If you can master those phrases, it just streamlines the whole experience.
Yeah, it's not about impressing anyone with your vocabulary. It's just about getting the information you need.
And it's about feeling in control of the situation.
Even if you're in a completely different country, you're not just a tourist, you're someone who knows how to handle things.
So it's kind of like fake it till you make it, but with phrases.
Exactly. You start using the right language and you just automatically feel more comfortable.
Okay, I like that. But, shopping is one thing. Asking for directions, that's a whole other level of potential awkwardness, especially when you're in a new place.
Oh, tell me about it. Getting lost in a foreign city, it can be a real test of your communication skills. But, Emily gives us a good starting point here. She says, "Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to the train station?" "Sure. Walk straight for 2 blocks, then turn left." "Thank you so much." "You're welcome. Have a good day."
Okay, that is simple. And that's what you need when you're feeling lost.
Definitely.
But what if I don't know the exact name of where I'm trying to go?
That's a good point. That's where some extra tips come in handy. So instead of just saying, the train station, which could be confusing in a city with multiple stations,
Right.
try using landmarks.
Oh, okay.
You could say something like, "I'm trying to get to that big clock tower by the river. Do you know which way it is?"
Oh, that's smart. Gives them more context.
Exactly. Makes it easier for them to help.
Right, okay. So I'm starting to see how even small tweaks to those basic phrases can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And another tip, don't be afraid to add some context to your request. So you could say, "I'm trying to get to the museum, but I think I might have taken a wrong turn. Could you point me in the right direction?"
Right, like you're inviting them into your little adventure of being lost.
Exactly. It just makes them more invested in helping you out.
I like it.
And even if you don't understand every single word of their directions,
Right.
a smile, a genuine thank you goes a long way.
So true. And speaking of situations that can make us feel a bit, lost, let's talk about something that can be super nerve-wracking. Going to the doctor.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, we're not just asking for directions, we're trying to explain what's wrong.
It can feel really vulnerable.
It does.
Absolutely. Clear communication is so important in medical settings, not just for your own peace of mind,
Right.
but to make sure that you're getting the right diagnosis and treatment. Emily gives us simple dialogue here. "Hello, I'm not feeling well." "What seems to be the problem? I have a headache and a sore throat." "I see. Let me check your temperature."
Okay, that's good for a starting point. But what about when medical jargon starts flying around?
Right. Instead of just saying, "I feel bad,"
Yeah.
try to be as specific as possible about your symptoms.
Okay.
Think about the location, the intensity, and how long it's been going on. So instead of just saying headache, you could say, "I have a throbbing pain on the left side of my head and it's been going on for about 2 hours."
Okay, paint a picture with words.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to use those phrases from the dialogue to help guide the conversation, like what seems to be the problem. That's a great opening to launch into your description.
It is. And I feel like jotting down your symptoms beforehand, if you're feeling nervous or not well, which you probably are at the doctor's office,
Right.
can help take the pressure off.
For sure.
Trying to remember everything.
And it shows the doctor that you're prepared.
Yeah, that you're taking it seriously.
Exactly. But let's be real, even with all the preparation in the world, some of the most awkward encounters happen when we're just trying to,
Be social.
be social, meeting new people.
Ugh, yes.
The worst.
Doesn't matter if it's a party or a networking event or just bumping into someone new at the coffee shop.
I know.
Those first few moments can be so awkward.
It's the universal experience.
It is. I feel like I'm always just fumbling over my words.
We all feel that way.
Yeah.
Totally normal. But you know what? Emily gives us a pretty good script here to navigate those initial moments.
Okay, good.
She says, "Hi, I'm Emily. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you too. What do you do?" "I'm a teacher." "And you?" "I'm a designer." Simple, but it gets the ball rolling.
It does. It focuses on the basics, names, pleasantries,
Yeah.
and then that open-ended question.
Yeah, you just want to establish a connection.
Right. But how do you go beyond those initial introductions? That's where I get stuck.
Okay. It's all about finding common ground. So once you've exchanged names, maybe professions,
Right.
look for those little hooks in the conversation. Did they mention they're a teacher?
Okay.
You could ask, "Oh, what's your favorite subject to teach?" Or "Who is your most memorable student?"
I like that.
Or If they say they're a designer, you could ask about their creative process, what inspires them.
Right. So it takes the pressure off having to constantly come up with new things to say.
Yeah.
You can kind of ride the waves of what they've already shared.
Exactly. Just follow the threads of the conversation.
Yeah. And hopefully those threads will lead to making plans to hang out again.
Which, speaking of, Emily provides a really casual script that's perfect for suggesting a get-together.
Oh, okay.
Hi, do you want to grab lunch tomorrow? Sure. What time? How about 1 p.m.? Sounds good. See you then.
Okay. Straightforward.
Very friendly. It's not about being overly formal or anything.
Right.
Just a relaxed, genuine invitation.
But what if you want to do something else besides lunch? Like catch a movie or grab a coffee.
That's where you can get a little creative. The structure stays similar, but you adapt the content.
Yeah.
So instead of grab lunch, you could say catch a movie or grab a coffee.
Right. Just swap it out.
Exactly. And adjust the time. Whatever works.
It's like a formula, but with endless possibilities.
But, even with all these great phrases and scripts, there's one crucial element that I think we often overlook.
What's that?
Practice.
Oh, of course.
Practice is key. It's what takes those phrases from, something you read to something you can use confidently in real life.
It's like that saying, knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad.
Right. Exactly.
You can have all these phrases in your head, but if you don't practice,
They're not going to help you.
it's not going to help you when you need them.
And Emily's tip about writing down new phrases and repeating them out loud, so smart, because it really engages multiple senses. You're seeing it, saying it, hearing it.
It's true. It reminds me of when I was learning piano. My teacher always used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent.
I love that.
The more I repeated those scales, the more they became ingrained in my muscle memory.
It's a great analogy. Language learning is so similar.
It is.
The more you practice, the more effortless it becomes. It's about building those pathways in your brain so you can just access the phrases without even thinking.
So it's not just about memorizing words. It's about training your brain to use them. But is there like a specific way to practice that's most effective? Should we be like standing in front of the mirror talking to ourselves?
I mean, mirror practice can be helpful, but it's not the only way.
Okay.
You could practice with a language partner.
Yeah.
You could record yourself, or even just repeat the phrases in your head, like while you're doing other things.
Right.
It's about finding what works for you and being consistent.
Finding your rhythm, your flow.
Exactly.
But let's go back to something Emily mentioned about making mistakes.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get really hung up on that, like that fear of saying the wrong thing.
Oh, yeah. It's totally natural to feel a little self-conscious, when you're speaking a language that's not your native tongue. But honestly, mistakes are just part of the process.
Yeah. When I first started traveling, I was so worried about messing up that I barely spoke at all.
I get it.
But then I realized people are generally pretty understanding.
They are, especially when you're making an effort.
Exactly.
Yeah. Most people are way more focused on what you're trying to say than on perfect grammar.
It's true. And I think it shows a willingness to connect, to step outside your comfort zone.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about language learning.
Yeah.
It's not just about acquiring a skill, it's about building bridges.
Oh, I like that. Which brings us back to the power of small talk, which we were talking about earlier.
Right. It might seem superficial, but it's actually really important for building relationships.
It's like the gateway drug to deeper conversation.
Exactly.
You need that initial, that, hi, how are you?
Absolutely. It's how you establish that common ground, that rapport.
Right. It's like that warm-up act before the main event. You need those initial exchanges to kind of get things flowing, create that sense of comfort.
Exactly. And it's not just about building relationships with new people. It's about maintaining the relationships you already have, too.
That's true. With your colleagues, your neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah. Just those little check-ins, they keep those connections strong.
It's the social glue.
It is. And the best part is it doesn't require a ton of effort.
Right. A simple, hi, how are you, can go a long way.
Absolutely. And as we saw with those examples from Emily, even small talk can be tailored to this situation.
Right. You can make it more engaging.
That's sure.
So if we kind of zoom out for a second,
Yeah.
what we're really talking about here is the power of communication.
I think so.
Whether it's ordering food, asking for directions, or just saying hello, it's all about using language to navigate the world.
To connect with each other.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting, right? It's not just about learning English. It's about empowering you to communicate effectively.
To feel confident in those moments that can be a little intimidating.
Yes. And as we talked about, the more confident you feel, the more likely you are to actually use the language.
It's a positive feedback loop.
It is. The more you practice, the more confident you become.
Yeah.
And then the more you engage, the more you learn and improve.
It's like a snowball effect.
It is.
It starts small, and then it just keeps building.
And that's the beauty of it. It's a journey. There's always more to learn, more to explore.
Absolutely. It's an ongoing adventure.
It is. And it's never too late to start.
Never. No matter your age, your background, you can always improve.
Right. Gain that confidence to use the language.
And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to just be clear, polite, and willing to engage.
Embrace the challenges.
Yeah.
Celebrate the small wins.
Exactly. And enjoy the ride.
That's great advice. Because it's easy to get caught up in that pressure to be perfect. But at the end of the day, it's about connection.
It is. And you know what? As you get more confident, new opportunities will open up. You'll be able to travel more easily,
Right.
connect with people from different cultures, even advance your career.
It's like unlocking a whole new world.
It is. And who knows, you might even inspire others to start their own language learning journey.
That's a nice thought.
Mm-hmm.
So for our listeners who are feeling inspired to take that first step, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
I would echo what Emily said about starting small.
Yeah.
Don't try to learn everything at once. Pick a couple of phrases that resonate with you
Okay.
and just practice those until they feel natural.
Right. And then you can build from there.
Exactly. Build momentum one step at a time. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are so many resources out there to help.
Language exchange partners,
Mhm.
online courses. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Exactly.
People are generally happy to share what they know.
They are. Now, we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
We've talked about the power of those simple phrases, the importance of practice and confidence, and the transformative potential of communication.
It's been a great conversation.
It has. And as we kind of wrap up this first part, I can't help but think about how language is so much more than just words.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, it's a reflection of culture.
Yeah.
You know, the way we greet each other, the idioms we use,
Yeah.
even the way we tell jokes. It all reveals something about our values, our shared experiences.
That's so true. And that's one of the things that makes language learning so fascinating. It's like a window into another way of seeing the world.
It is, and I think for anyone learning English, it's important to remember that it's not just about mastering grammar and vocabulary.
Right.
It's about embracing those cultural nuances.
Yes, it is.
And I think we'll delve even deeper into that in the next part. Stay tuned.
Sounds good.
Welcome back.
It's amazing how much we've already covered.
I know, right? From ordering food to asking for directions. And yeah, you're right. Practice is really what brings it all together.
It does. It's what takes it from knowing the phrases to actually using them out in the wild.
Totally.
Feeling confident.
Confidence is key.
And Emily's tip about writing down the phrases and repeating them out loud. It's so simple, but it really works, you know?
Oh, it's so effective. You know why? It's because it engages all these different senses.
Yeah.
You're seeing the words, you're saying them, you're hearing them. It's like multisensory learning.
It's true. It reminds me of, like, when I was learning to play piano, my teacher used to say, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Oh, I love that.
So the more I repeated those scales and chords, they just got, like, burned into my muscle memory.
Such a good analogy.
I think it's the same with language.
It is.
The more you practice those phrases, it just becomes second nature. Like your brain just automatically knows what to do.
It's like building those neural pathways so you don't even have to think about it.
Right, exactly. So it's not just memorizing, it's training your brain. But is there a best way to practice, you think? Should we be standing in front of a mirror, you know, talking to ourselves?
The mirror practice can be good,
Okay.
but it's not the only way. You could find a language partner,
Right.
record yourself speaking, or even just like repeat the phrases silently in your head while you're doing other things.
Okay, so it's really about finding what works for you.
Exactly, and just doing it regularly.
Consistency. I like that.
Yeah.
But going back to what Emily was saying about making mistakes,
Yeah.
I think that's something people really get stuck on, like that fear of messing up.
Of course, it's natural to feel a little self-conscious. You're speaking a language that's not your native language. But honestly, mistakes are going to happen. It's part of the process.
When I first started traveling, I was so worried about making mistakes that I almost didn't speak at all.
Oh, wow.
But then I realized most people are actually pretty understanding.
They are, especially if you're making an effort.
Right. And patient.
Very patient. I think most people care more about what you're trying to say than if your grammar is perfect.
Yeah. It's the message that matters.
Yeah.
And I think it shows that you're willing to put yourself out there.
Totally. It shows you want to connect.
You're stepping outside your comfort zone.
And that's what's so cool about language learning. It's not just about the skill. It's about building those bridges between people.
It's so true. It brings us back to that idea of small talk.
Right.
Which, we were talking about earlier. It might seem like superficial.
Yeah.
But it's actually so important for building relationships.
It is. It's like the first step,
Yeah.
It opens the door for deeper conversations.
It does. It's how we find that common ground.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
how you signal that you're open to connecting.
Right. It's that little warm-up before the main event. You need that. You need those initial exchanges to get things flowing.
Totally. And, it's not just about new people. It's about keeping the relationships you have strong.
Oh, that's true.
Like with colleagues, with your neighbors, with your family.
Yeah. Just little check-ins.
Little check-ins. Keep those connections strong. It's like the social glue.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not even that hard to do. A quick, hi, how are you,
Yeah.
can go such a long way.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And like we saw with those examples from Emily, you can always make it more engaging.
Right. Tailor it a bit.
Yeah. So if we zoom out a little bit here,
Yeah.
I think what we're really talking about is the power of communication in general.
That's true.
Whether you're ordering food, asking for directions, just saying hello,
Right.
it's about using language to move through the world.
Right. To connect with others.
And that's what makes all of this so valuable. It's not just about learning English, it's about giving you the tools to actually communicate.
To handle those situations that can feel a little,
Intimidating.
Yeah, intimidating. And like we said before, the more confident you feel, the more you'll actually use what you're learning.
It's that positive feedback loop again.
It is. The more you practice,
Yeah.
the more confident you become. And then the more you actually engage, the better you get.
It's a beautiful thing. It's like a snowball.
It is.
Starts small and then it just picks up speed.
That's a great way to put it. And it's never too late to start.
It really isn't. No matter what your age, your background,
Right.
there's always room to grow, to gain that confidence.
To connect with people. And it doesn't have to be perfect.
Not at all.
Yeah.
What matters most is just being clear, being polite, and willing to try.
Yeah. Be willing to put yourself out there.
Embrace the challenges, celebrate those little victories along the way,
Absolutely.
and enjoy the journey. That's the most important part.
That is such good advice.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to get caught up in that, need to be perfect.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about connection. It's about sharing,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
And as your confidence grows, you know what? You'll see new doors open.
Yeah.
Traveling gets easier.
Right.
You can connect with people from all different backgrounds, maybe even advance your career.
It really does open up the world, literally.
It does. And you might even inspire other people to start learning, too.
I love that. So for our listeners who are ready to jump in, what's one piece of advice you would give them?
I think I would just reiterate what Emily said about starting small.
Yeah, good one.
Don't try to do everything at once. Pick a couple phrases that really click with you.
Okay.
Practice them till they're second nature.
That makes sense.
And then go from there. Build momentum.
Little steps. And remember, there's tons of support out there. Language exchange partners, online courses. Don't be shy about asking for help.
People are usually pretty happy to share their knowledge.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have. We've explored those simple phrases, the importance of practice, of confidence.
And the power of communication overall.
It's been a really great conversation.
It has. And I think as we kind of wrap up this second part, it's really striking me how language is just so much more than words.
Oh, yeah. What do you mean?
Well, I'm thinking about how it's a reflection of the culture.
Interesting.
The way we greet each other, the idioms we use, even our humor.
Uh-huh.
It all tells you something about our values, our experiences.
Oh, I love that point. It's so true. And it's what makes language learning so fascinating. It's like a window into another way of being.
It is. And I think for anyone learning English, it's important to remember that it's not just about the grammar rules and the vocabulary lists.
Right.
It's about embracing those cultural nuances.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to dive even deeper into that in the next part. Stay tuned.
We're back, diving deeper into everyday English. And before the break, we were talking about how language is like more than just words on a page, right? It's a peek into a culture's, personality.
Yeah. Like even simple phrases can tell you so much about, values, how people are expected to act, even their sense of humor.
It's true. I remember traveling and a joke would fall flat. And you realize there's this whole other level of understanding that goes way beyond the dictionary definition.
Absolutely. Humor is a good example because it often depends on shared references, wordplay, stuff that doesn't always translate neatly.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And that's when you get those aha moments. It's not just what someone's saying, but why they're saying it that way.
Exactly. And when you get that deeper understanding, it just makes every interaction so much more,
Richer.
yeah, richer, more meaningful. It's like you're speaking to their heart, not just their head.
I love that. So for our listeners who are learning English, any advice on how to, I don't know, navigate those cultural bits?
I'd say dive in. Don't be afraid of idioms, slang, even if it seems confusing at first. Ask questions. Watch how people talk to each other. Every conversation is a chance to learn.
That's such good advice because it's those quirks that make a language come alive. And they're fun to learn.
They are. And the more you get comfortable with those nuances,
Yeah.
you connect with people on a whole other level, build stronger relationships, really appreciate how beautiful and complex that culture is.
It's like you're adding more colors to your painting, more tools to your, communication toolkit.
Yeah, yeah. You can say what you mean, understand others, move through the world with more confidence.
Exactly. And isn't that what it's all about? Expanding what's possible, connecting with people. Language has that power.
It does, to make life richer. So, as we wrap up this deep dive on everyday English, I hope our listeners feel ready to jump in, to practice, to push themselves a bit. It's worth it.
Couldn't agree more. Keep learning, keep exploring, keep connecting. The world is waiting to hear what you have to say.
That's it for today. Happy learning, everyone.